Describe to me what it was like growing up in the South in Oklahoma.
Well, Oklahoma was not really considered the South, but if you want to call Oklahoma the southern state, one of the southern state, I would say growing up as a young person, as a child, it was wonderful, if you could say wonderful. We had our ups and our downs, our trials and our tribulations there. It wasn't perfect, but as a family, it was quite enjoyable. There was quite a few young people around. We were able to go to school where they had professional people there. So growing up there was a wonderful thing. It didn't offer us too much, but it was wonderful at the time being young.
Did you experience any hate growing up there?
Yes, we did in a way, but growing up there, we were at that time segregated. We had our own area and our own stores, our own doctors. Everything was ours. And when I mean own, it was our race of people that were in charge of everything. We even had our own sheriff. And everything that we had was run by blacks. And that was a nice experience to see. And we were encouraged to want to do better, even though they were professional, but they were encouraging us to want to do better, which we attempted to do, most of the young people.
And so, why did you decide to move to San Francisco?
Well, my grandparents had moved out here. My grandfather, he moved out to get a better job at that time. He was successful in doing that. And we did not move with him at that time, but my mother and the children would travel out here to visit him. And we would come by train out to California, and it was something about California that I fell in love with as a young person. And I always thought, when I get older, when I finish high school, which I had to do, I'm going to move to California. And by having the grandparents here, and they welcomed that, not only me, but my siblings, but they had no desire, like I did, to move to California. They enjoyed visiting, but they didn't want to live here. So I end up making this my home.
So, can you explain to me what it was like living through the Civil Rights Movement?
Living through the Civil Rights Movement was more of a distance from me and my sibling. We were sort of removed from it, but we wanted to be there. We wanted to participate in the Civil Rights Movement. It was not directly in our location, so we would have had to travel out of state to participate in the movement. We were forbidden not to do that because of the fear of something may go wrong. So we wanted to be there. We couldn't be there, but we were there in spirit. And we were proud and happy to see the others there, wishing that we could be there to show we were behind every step of the way.
So, what was it like getting married and having kids?
Moving out to San Francisco when I was quite young, I was coming out to get my education. I started out that way. I ended up falling in love, and during that time, most of my friends here, most of the young ladies and men, that would be the next thing to do was to get married. That was back in the 60s, so that's what you did. You got married. And I was able to fall in love with someone that loved me. We got married, and later on, after being married a few years, we started having children. So that was a proud moment.
Did you ever feel like you wished you waited longer to get married?
I do now. I wish that perhaps we could have waited, but at that time, you do what you do during the time. And in life, you come across and you think back and you say, oh, I wished I should have. But that doesn't always happen that way. So it happened the way it happened. It ended up being a wonderful thing, being married to a wonderful man and having wonderful children. So it ended up fine. It happened because it was meant to happen.
Mm-hmm. So you decided to go back to school after starting the family. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I did. I had said that I would always continue my education, get my degree. And after having my children, and as they began to grow, I still had that inner desire to go back to school and get my degree. I started out and it was going quite well. But then having a family, it was pretty rough task. And it seems like my husband was felt like he was being left out. The children were drawing me away. I felt guilty about that, so I stopped again. And that's what happened.
Do you ever feel resentment that you couldn't?
Absolutely not. No resentment at all. Like I say, things happen for a reason, and what happens, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It always end up being what's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never too late. It isn't too late now. I just haven't made that move.
Mm-hmm. So while going to school and starting your career, did you ever face any prejudices?
Yes, indeed. It really did. I really don't think that there are too many blacks around, even today, that have not experienced some type of prejudice, whether it's subtle or overt. It's there. And prejudice is based on the color of the skin and not the person, because it was very difficult in trying to get a job or certain jobs that you knew you were qualified to get. But the minute you walked in to apply for that job, you could sense you're not going to get that job just based on the color of your skin. But it didn't really stop. It didn't stop me from applying and eventually getting a job that I was happy about.
Mm-hmm. And what job was that you were happy about?
I would say the job that I retired from, even though I had quite a few jobs before I ended up with the job that I retired from, and that was working in the school district, working at a place that was called at that time Alternative High School. And it was very rewarding because I was working with young people that was struggling. Maybe they were not struggling from race or division, but they were suffering from other things that seemed much more difficult than my experience. And able to reach them and maybe having them have a change of heart and a change of mind and a wanting to do different things and wanting to do better. That was very rewarding.
So what has it been like growing older, and how has God and church played a role in your life?
Well, God in church has been the center of my life since I've gotten older. And I've just been blessed with His grace and goodness, and have been even happier since I have gotten older and I have had Christ in my life. It's a contentment. It's someone that you can call on when you can't call on anyone else. Someone that you can talk to when you can't talk to anyone else. Someone that you can have faith and believe in when you can't have that with anyone else. So it has been a truly blessing for me and my family at this time of my life.
Mm-hmm. And so, what's your favorite part about being a woman in America?
I think that I don't have a particular part except that being a woman, I was able to give birth to my children. That is a wonderful thing. Being a woman in America has its advantage because there are a lot of other places in this world where women are really looked down upon. They are not considered women. And this place, even with all its problems, I must say that America is the greatest country that you could live in. And it's okay. It's okay.
And so, to round this all off, can you tell me what your favorite part about being black is?
My favorite part about being black is I would have to use that slogan from James Brown. I am black and I'm proud. That's one of my favorite because it is so true. It is absolutely a wonderful thing to me to be black and proud.
High five, Mom. Love you.
I love you too. What is that now?